Ding, ding. Okay, we're being recorded. I've got quite a few people that they've got some things going on today. So I've been asked to record this to share it for later. Just going to share my screen. And what I'm going to do, this is going to be a long call, but I wanted to cover off some things of late that have been, I think, are useful for us to pass along. Welcome to those that can make it this morning and for December 6th. And I've had a couple of meetings with the actual manufacturers over in China. It's interesting. What is 9 o'clock here PM is about the same, like 12-hour spread between them there. So it works out fine. The communication's been interesting in terms of understanding everything really clearly, but we've worked through some of that stuff. But what the sentiment there generally is that the plants there, a lot of them have idled back a bit. The export has slowed down a little. So what they're doing is they're manufacturing. What they are manufacturing is actually just getting inventoried because the demand is going to be there. And then we've got just into January, between front end of Jan, say mid-Jan, sorry, and into Feb, the Brazilian market comes about. So that's where we're going to get dual pull from both North and South America on stocks. So they are looking for guidance in terms of what outfits can buy. And there's right now, being December, that's when all the majors go in and they make their commitments for what they want to do for inputs and all that stuff. So you'll be seeing or hearing, you might be hearing a bit of that. And then some of these retails that haven't had any pricing yet are going to have some. And until Jan 20th, anything that does get exported is tariff-free. So there's excitement to get it moving. But interestingly enough, it's not like they're maxed out and getting stuff going. So it's not apathy, but a lot of people don't think, like last time, the ag input side of things kind of got a bit of a pass for the tariffs because, you know what, you start hammering tariffs and it hurts the farmer, and that's not ideal because there's some pretty direct correlations to valuation of and profitability of farms being able to do their thing to that. So we'll see. So again, they're building inventory. There's been a lot of new players coming into the market. Some of them are coming from the major factories, but you'll see there's like 15 new registrations of glyphosate in Canada this year. Exponential number of that in the US, and then along with all the other commodities. So what's happening within that is, you know, one main manufacturer that maybe they provide the active of the glyphosate molecule, and then because they got massive capacity, they farm that out to 10 other factories that will shoot it into totes with their recipes and then they'll have different stickers on it and that. So there are actually getting different sections of the marketplace, and some of the people we've been talking with are really concerned about preserving their aggregate place in the market as well, and not having their market share displaced. Obviously they want to grow it. So they're doing a couple of things. One is they're actively pursuing registrations of their own, which is kind of a newer thing. So you'll see their brand getting registered in the with the PMRA and that for Canada, and the same with the US. And then what happens then is once you have that, there's something that's called a master label, or white label. It's a more common term that they'll have, that it takes 45 days for me to get an iFarm sticker on a jug or a tote once that master label exists in Canada. And so that's some of the stuff we're talking about. If there's a value in it and it bypasses some stuff, that's good. The other thing they're doing is they're buying up other assets around the world that are aligned with their survival and future, such as biological companies, different actives, and again, in different countries where they can actually, like Ghana and weird places, so that they can bolt on additional product lines to their portfolio. They're not just going to be a glyphosate company anymore. They've realized that they have to do that. and in order to do it. And the one company, they've got like 8,000 people on payroll. So they make an ag line and a industrial line and a plastics line that goes into makeups and whatever chemistries they do and stuff. So it's not like chump change they're throwing around and stuff. We're also buying North American assets. So there's a company out there called Rainbow. They're very cash rich. A fellow that was a former FBNer by the name of Tom Lyons, who knows those guys good in China, is now in North America. They put a new plant up in, or acquired a new plant to them in Texas and building it out. They've got their own sales team and all that stuff. So we're starting to see some of that happening, which is interesting. And again, they're going to be putting the dollars to back it up. Light Scientific is another one coming into place and so on. But the world is getting a little bit more interesting, to say the least. And what that means is, because of all of the angst, all the different pieces of the puzzle that are happening, the people I'm talking to, they really want to have a direct connection some way with the farmer. They understand that the big box stores and retails have their relationships, their alliances, their boat trips, their whatever they get that are representing their interests, along with looking after the customers and stuff. That's a side thing. But what they want to do is to have a conduit of having a relationship directly, boots on the ground, to putting it on plants and into soil. And so we've got high levels of interest of trying to determine if we can provide value with that kind of stuff. It meets my mission, and I think most people on the call and those that are listening. So I'm hopeful that we'll see where that goes. It's kind of interesting and exciting at the same time, but we'll see. We're just little. We'll see what we can do. And the tariffs is a bit of a wild card. We'll see what happens with that. But that gives you a bit of an idea of things on what's going on. Something that I think I was remiss on this is the currency, the Forex into Canada versus the China and the USD. The USD is strong. The US dollar is very strong right now, and that. So that's that. Another thing that they also, I forgot to put on, was quality. But there's only so much skin left that you can peel off before you compromise quality with the cheapest, and the cheapest is not necessarily going to be the best. So when you run out of room and you're not a high-end quality player in the marketplace, you take shortcuts. And so what's going to happen is there are some players out there that have they're selling stuff with the same sticker on it, but what's inside the jug is not the same. You're seeing compromised quality, particularly if it gets frozen and this and that, and you'll see residues and things separating out when, geez, I used the same stuff 3 years ago and that wasn't a thing, but it is now. So there's only so many places they can cut. And so just to have a heads up that wherever you guys are sourcing your products from, that you have comfort that whoever's selling it to you knows what they're selling. And it may not even be the salespeople that know that kind of stuff. It happens above their head. So they may be just oblivious to things being changed. So that's that. I got ahead of myself. I got something on that in a bit. Currency versus a year ago, we're at 76 and we're 71. Trend is still to go to that 68-ish range, depending. Prime Minister Fancy Socks he's putting in time, so we'll see. There's not a lot that's happening relating to robust investments for the Canadian, particularly on what makes money for Canada and exports and all that stuff. So we'll see where it happens. We're pretty much beholden to where the US is going to go for now, and that's what's going to dictate where the currency goes. It's got very little to do with what we do here. But again, just as a reminder, there's 20, 30 cents, 30 cents spread per liter just on some currency valuations basis, not that awful long ago, right? There's some people pushing products right now. Is it the right time? Is there urgency? Should a farmer be excited about pulling out his checkbook today and making things happen? Well, what happens is that there's some companies that need money, and they're doing what they got to do or doing everything they can to generate revenue, because they got to look after some housekeeping internally with them. But the key will be, is that what the best thing is for the farmer? Should it be urgent? And what I'm thinking and what I've been counseled about is, other than glyphosate, that molecule's got the most pressure on it to potentially go up. All the rest at this time, there's not a lot of urgency, other than you do have the tariff thing to factor in, and then you've got the wild card of currency. So tariff, currency are going to be what may dictate things, but in terms of what being pushed into doing stuff, and then you got to factor in your cost of money and all that. I would really encourage guys just to take a look at the whole farm, and I've got a bit more information on that as we move through. So what I did when I took a look at the best pricings that were was available, and thanks to those that were able to share their information with us, is last week I shared that we've got our 24-40 deal in place. So it's a 2 4-pack of beer and a 40 of whatever spirit is your one of choice. And what I did was, on a 3,000 acre system on glufosinate tolerant canola, I took my costing, not costing, but actually to the farmer with those of you that are marketing products with me, and your margin's all built out of it, but it was a liter equivalent of glyphosate, 320 acre rate of carfentrazone, the 40 acre case rate of clethodim, the regular 1.35 rate of glufosinate, and then throwing in the prothioconazole or Proline equivalent. My all-in cost to the farm was $24.40. That's delivered and all that stuff, and it's cash price. The next closest one that some of you are very familiar with was $26.32. So we're $2 an acre better without having to get cute and fancy about a bunch of special programming or urgency behind it and all the rest of it. That's just my price. Okay. And then there's another online one that does mass texting out and whatnot. They're at $29.91. So we have quite a bit of a spread, like $5 or whatever the hell it is, or a little better, $5.50 an acre. And then you've got the big box stores at 32 or north of that, depending on stuff. And if you're big particularly with the big box stores, if you're big and you're important or your buddies, yes, you get a better price and all that stuff, and you get your black box at the end of the day, maybe, and all that stuff. But this is my price for anyone. The only caveat is it's based on 3,000 acres. And so if you think that's the right thing, good. If that number's too much, well, and you got a neighbor with 1,500 acres and you got it too, split it. You know, real simple. It's not rocket science to figure this stuff out. We want to help if we can. So that's that one. The next one I did was interesting to me was wheat. And so same idea is I went with a liter of glyphosate, 160 acre rate of Corex, which is dicamba flurazolam, your Barricade in crop, which is different chemistries to that, your Cladinifop for your grass control, and Procero equivalent. And I was at 32.27 on my 3,000-ish rate. The other one was 35.58. Another one, the second one, they didn't have the portfolio right, so I just left it out and ignored it. And then the other one is well north of $36. So bottom line is we can make quite a difference. And if nothing else, and if you look at the bottom of my slide, for those that aren't on it, my suggestion is that we do quotes for guys on their whole acre. If you want to pick apart and have, this specific chemistry and this one, and the guy's going to pick 4 chemistries from 4 different outfits to get the best price, I'm not interested in that stuff. Like, we want to provide value. We'll absolutely provide a quote, but that's not how I'm going to eat and what's going to be best for my business. And it's not going to be best for yours, I don't think. But what my suggestion would be is to do sincere quotes on a portion of acres, whatever that is. And if it's a win, it's a win. And if we work with us and they buy our stuff, that's fantastic. And if they decide to buy that stuff somewhere else, but this helped them get that extra $3 an acre in the jeans or whatever they're going to save, they're welcome. So whatever on that. And the other thing I mentioned a little bit earlier on was the quality parameters. There's only so many places you can skin things to keep margin to be the lowest price. We will not be necessarily the lowest price. I just happen to have the margin I'm satisfied with what I'm presenting. With that, with looking after my ag reps as well, if they're going to resell. But again, there's your premium, regular, and mid-grade fuels. Same idea on your glyphosates in this example, and you can say the same thing about some other ones, right? But my take on it is just to be encouraged that when you're getting pricing and stuff, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. There was another text that went out from another guy in the Northwest that says, oh, you can get the cheap glyphosate or you can get the more expensive glyphosate. Well, what the hell's that? Like, what are you expecting from that stuff? Like, what does that gain you? And what are you compromising and stuff? So I think there's awareness that there's a price difference, but even the person selling it, I don't know if they understand what the spread would be on. Maybe it's the same stuff with different cheaper stickers. Who knows, right? So my take would be, we vet our stuff, and I know what we're putting through our barn, and I would suggest that everybody else should be challenged in a similar way. So that's that. So how to proceed? So right now we've had a chance to tidy up the fall stuff. Most things are away. We've had some -40 or -30 wind chill stuff. So today's the day where we can help with folks are doing their crop plans, what's their acres, the crops, previous crops, chemistries for residues, what's their cash flow like. We can't do 0% like some outfits. So if that's the game they got to be in, the thing they got to be that's best for them, that's great. If they can write a check, I will absolutely provide one that will factor in the benefit of cash versus a 0% one, because the money comes from somewhere on that stuff anyways. And that. So glyphosate remains at historic lows, so getting covered through that. Most of you guys, I think, if I remember through most of our visits, have pretty well got things covered off. But if they don't, maybe get that tidied up and get that in place. And then also, from an agronomic perspective, it's always best to do a tank mix partner. So I'd encourage you to get that put together, and maybe you can get a better deal. I know I'll give you one if there's other things to add to it on the whole acre. And then do the chemistry budget based on what is known today, and then you can come up with a number. And we can run scenarios for your guys on seeing where they're at, or for your own farm, and just see if it is the right time and day to make it, pull the trigger. Good. Because what happens is the product's going to come over here, cost to carry built into the pricing, so it'll be more in the spring than now. And if you want to write a check today versus a check May 1 or whatever, the price is going to be better, just because it's just money. It costs what it costs, right, to carry. And I can probably, and the other thing we can do today on some farms is we can go a direct hit from port to a guy's farm. That is a huge savings of, many cents, not pennies, but nickels and dimes per liter or per unit, per acre, that I want to pass all that on to guys that are in a state where they can take it. And if you don't, we'll keep it till it's warm enough to go. Be aware of your tariffs and the currency factors, and give us a shot at it. And please share what you know. If you happen to be aware of local market signals, pricing issues, any of that, this is a giver's gain thing, and it only gives benefit it does nothing but benefit the group if we're aware of whatever's going on locally, and I appreciate that. But otherwise, there's not a lot of urgency beyond a couple other things that we've talked about so far. And any questions on that piece? Anybody got any questions or thoughts or comments? Perfect. Well, I'm on standby to help if you guys want that. Next, so coming soon, through an awful lot of vetting, we have landed on a company that's going to provide our own private labeling for some products that are soil and crop enhancements. It's not Viagra. It might help your peas stand up better and things like that. But there's enough data now that we're moving from the foo-foo dust role to there's actual practical and pragmatic science-based opportunities for us to add value with some of these things, from the soil right through to flowering and stuff. And so we will have a canola line. We've got a wheat line, a pulse line for those that are interested. We're going to be providing some education behind all that stuff just to back it all up. And it is 100% ROI to the farm based. And I have no interest on something that is $1 for $1 back. It's got to be significant, at least 1 to 4 return, 4 to 1 return, or else you're kind of rolling the dice a little bit. So we'll call this phase 1. And we're going to be looking at gimmicks and some other stuff. And we're just assessing some of that at the moment. Does anybody have any questions on that? Cool. Next. Also, we've been approached by a company called AGI3. What they do is they offer enhanced insurance for yield, and the model's been getting fiddled through for a couple of years, and they've done the trialing and all that stuff. They did a second year release, and we're going to be offering it this year. So the way I'll put it is, one, we've determined there's a value there and a need, so it's useful to bring this forward to our farmers. There's also going to be before spring, so that's the yield. There's also going to be a forward protect contract coming out, which means if you hedge a contract and you don't grow the crop and you got to buy it out, there's going to be a mechanism for you to have insurance to cover your butt for that, so that you don't have that risk hangover of having to write a check for stuff you don't grow. So we've got that. And today we're moving ahead with collecting the information needed. So that is going to be coming about in the next week. Next week, we're going to dial this in better, just to let you know. We kind of, name, rank, serial number, historical crop insurance stuff. All this stuff will be collected confidentially, and the bottom line is, if you want iFarm to be the conduit with your customers to do this, because you guys don't have time, or it's not in your, you're just not feeling it or whatever, let me know. Jackie, my wife, will be the administrator of this system, and we'll be happy to contact those that you want to have awareness of this. You guys will get a cut of it. So we're just sorting out that break and that. And we want to facilitate opportunities for you to provide value to your customers, and we'll be doing it regardless. So if we can help you there, that's fine. And then on the other side, this is not a have to. It's if you want to, that's great. If you want to go do your own thing and you want to look after all that stuff on your own, I don't care. Just go ahead. Just let me know if you're going to do your own thing, and then frankly, I won't be bugging your guys if I know they're getting looked after by you, but I need to know that. Otherwise, I want to be in touch with them so that they have this opportunity. Being in touch with them and getting this data does not guarantee that they're going to get coverage. It is just getting in queue for it. They are currently assessing what the appetite for risk is going to be. If you are in an area that has had no crops for a half a dozen years or whatever, it's just sucked, your premium will reflect that. They may not even pick it up. If you're in a area where you've had average crops plus, it's kind of things are kicking and booing, and you want to just have comfort, that they will be going there first, likely. So you know where you guys live, and but the key is getting ready. If you're not in, you don't get picked if you're not in line, and we want to help facilitate that for that, and also for that forward protect thing if guys want it. So that's a next week thing, and that's it. So that was, what the heck, 8:30. I hit my target for that. So open floor. I'm going to stop recording right now, and